Hiya! Welcome! Should be a fairly quick video today, as I'm just going to show you 4 things quite quickly and briefly as a sort of precursor to a longer video that will hopefully be coming on the channel maybe this week in a matter of a day or 2. It depends on the post and everything. Recently I did promise that I would be showing you a few cassettes on the channel. I didn't promise exactly, but I said I'm thinking of getting some of this duo's work on cassette for my collection, and I decided that I'd do that, and they ended up being 4 of their albums that were pretty cheap to get on cassette, and then the other albums that I need, well, that's for a future video that I alluded to a moment ago. But I'm talking about Erasure, of course. Don't know why I like collecting them on cassette as well as vinyl. I mean, I prefer collecting vinyl records, generally speaking, more than cassettes, but it just makes a bit of a change, and I did already have some Erasure on tape anyway. So let's take a look at 4 Erasure albums. There's 3 studio albums and 1 sort of not a studio album that I'll talk about when I show it you. The first one I got was from eBay. I made a best offer. I think altogether, including postage, it was £6, and this is the most recent Erasure album in this particular little haul here. This is Cowboy. So I'm not going to embarrass myself trying to remember release dates or even the years of these. I'll just put them on screen, as I've noticed I've been getting dates wrong in certain music collecting videos. I do know this is Erasure's most recent album on tape that I've got here today. There is other ones that are way newer that have come out like in recent years, but I'm talking about back when cassette was still a heavily marketed and sold format in pretty much every record shop that you went in. So this will be like late 90s. Don't think there's any Dolby noise reduction on here. I mean, I can't really see any small logos or anything. But when I was inspecting it when it came in the post a couple of days ago, I couldn't see any Dolby logo or anything. Quick look at the tape. I mean, these are all going to look like this, really. I think they're all going to be this bog standard clear cassette shell. I think I had a single off this back in the day. I think In My Arms, I had that on CD. That was either the first or second single from this album. And I think one of those I picked up somewhere, 50p bargain bin job. I wasn't really collecting them as such back then, but I am now, especially these studio albums. So nice to get Cowboy from eBay. Right, we move on to 3 albums from Discogs Marketplace. There's 2 here that were from the same seller. Total price, I think, came to about £14 something. That included some in postage. I could have got them, I think, a little bit cheaper from different sellers, but because he was selling these 2 himself, it just seemed easier to order these 2 from this particular seller and then the rest elsewhere. And the first one I'll show you from this Discogs seller is not a studio album. This is the Ring Circus. It's going to be from after their 1987 studio album, The Circus. It might even be the same year, or 1988 at the latest, I'd have thought. Now then, this is a remix album. It contains remixes of tracks off their second album, The Circus. Those of you who've been paying attention to my Erasure videos recently will know that, particularly with the 1980s work, I've been collecting Erasure on vinyl, so why didn't I get the Ring Circus from the 1980s on vinyl? I'll tell you why. Because there's more tracks on the cassette version and also the CD version, but I've decided I'm not going to get any Erasure CDs. I want their work on either record or tape. So whereas the vinyl version of this album will have just the remixes on, this particular edition, oh, I do like the yellow label there. I haven't even checked to see if any of these tapes have been rewound properly or anything, to be honest. It's rather nice, a bit more interesting than Cowboy. But no, there's also some live tracks on here, so this is kind of doubling up really on this format anyway, as a remix album and a bit of a live mini album as well. I thought I'd get this on tape rather than vinyl, as it'll mean I get the extra live tracks. Yeah, I'm pleased with it. Now, looking at the bottom there, that's got a chrome logo on it. Chrome tape or Type 2 tape is like a higher formula of cassette tape. Usually when you've got a chrome tape and you've got the suitable equipment, it sounds better. I mean, you've got stuff like Dolby noise reduction back in the day anyway, but generally chrome tape, whether you're buying pre-recorded cassettes like this or you're recording onto your own blank chrome cassettes, generally the performance is meant to be better if you've got the suitable equipment. And I'm not sure my tape player's really cut out for chrome tape. I've got a Sony Hi-Fi down here. It's a really nice one for its age, even though when it first came out in, I think, 2001 or something like that, it was considered more of a sort of entry-level mini system. The only other album I know for sure I've got on chrome cassette in my collection is a special edition version of Substance 1987 by New Order. And I haven't played that on this system. I played that on my previous system, which was another Sony from a similar time period, but it didn't have a mini disc player on. I upgraded my system a couple of years or so back, as I wanted an integrated mini disc player and recorder in my hi-fi setup. And it sounded fine, it did play, but you could tell it did sound a bit too muffled really, and I've got a feeling it might be the case with this one, but I haven't played any chrome tapes on it, so who knows. But anyway, that's me being really boring about tape formulations. I'm still glad to have this. It'll sound okay at least, I'm sure. I'm not going to rush out and buy some sort of cassette player that's got to be able to definitely play Type 2 tape to its highest potential. That doesn't really seem worth it for the amount of cassettes that I've got and the amount of times that I play them, so the jury will be out on this, but I'm really glad to have the 2 Ring Circus. The penultimate album to show you from Erasure today, and the second one from the Discogs seller I mentioned a few minutes ago, is this one from 1994. I'm pretty confident I'm getting the year right here. I Say, I Say, I Say. So this was Erasure's first studio album that came after their Pop 20 Greatest Hits compilation in the early 90s, and this has got my favourite Erasure single of all time on it, Always. I had the remix CD single of Always, which had 3 really good remixes and one that was decent but not brilliant on it back in the day. But the standard album version, or the single edit, or whatever you hear on the radio, I love that as well. Nice bright sleeve here. Again, it's labelled up, but it's a clear shell, as a lot of these are. I can't read anything that's on these, so I'm not even going to take them out. But I just wanted to show you these few cassettes here. And finally, this one is another Discogs purchase. It came today, just one cassette from a different seller. Let's get it open. Packaging wise, cassette cases, as anyone of a certain age will know, they're not very stable at all. They're very fragile. Like, you know, you just breathe on them and they get cracked. But I'm impressed with this seller, as I was with, I think, both the previous sellers as well. That not only does he put it in a jiffy envelope, but he's also wrapped it in card. You can get like little cassette mailers as well. I've received those from places like Time Slave Recordings on Bandcamp before. This isn't really a mailer, I just think it's a bit of fairly strong cardboard cut to be a protective sleeve, as it were, for the tape. This will be pre-owned, so it's not got any cellophane on it or anything. And this is Erasure's self-titled album, Erasure, I think from 1995. I will be familiar with at least one of the singles on here. Don't forget, I mean, all these tapes, apart from the 2 Ring Circus, are from a fairly short period of time in the 1990s. And the singles chart was still pretty important then. I mean, you talk about the singles chart now in 2022, and it's based on like how many streams something's got, and it's not the same. I know I'm being an old fart over it, but it's just the whole music industry's changed a bit too much for my liking. That's why I like collecting records, collecting tapes, collecting mini discs as well. It just helps me cling on to my youth, really. But Erasure with Erasure there completes this lineup of Erasure albums. There we are. I'll look at the cassette again. And that's it. That's all I've got to show you for today. So I can't wait to get stuck into these Erasure albums, but it's not going to be the last of the Erasure content on the channel, as I've already hinted at in this video and previously as well. I'm planning on a big Erasure haul, and that's going to be predominantly vinyl. You notice I said predominantly, so make sure you watch that, and that will be coming out very soon, probably within the next day or two, I think, on the channel. But thank you all for watching this, and special thanks go, as always, to my subscribers and my wonderful, generous patrons. Please see my Facebook group link, my Patreon link, and a link for Urban Jungle Contents Insurance, all down in the description text box. I'm going to go now, and probably going to listen to these in chronological order. I mean, they've kind of come to me in a totally random order, as things tend to do. But probably start with the 2 Ring Circus, and I'm kind of intrigued as to how that's going to sound on my hi-fi and whether my latest hi-fi setup can handle chrome tape. Probably should have tested it with the New Order album again before now, but never mind. And we'll eventually end up listening to Cowboy by Erasure, and that'll be just in time for the next batch of albums from Vince Clarke and Andy Bell, which I'll be showing you very soon. I do hope you join me for that, and for all my other subsequent music and cassette collecting videos. Cheers everyone. See ya!